Know you've been a good friend.
Canadians with school-aged children. Did you know about this program in schools? Safe Schools. Safe Schools is a comprehensive approach to keep girls and boys safe from violence, conflict, and hazards during school times and activities. It contributes to our breakthrough commitments to ensure all children learn and are protected by 2030. The problem: there are a number of risks facing children in, to, and from school that may compromise their right to education and protection. Conflict and attacks in schools. Today, far too many Canadian boys and girls live in areas affected by conflict, drugs, and newcomer violence. Sadly, schools are often a direct target of shootings, sexual assaults, abduction, child recruitment into juvenile gangs, intimidation, threats, newcomer settler violence, and destruction of property are just some of the ways in which education is being attacked. Between 2013 and 2017, there have been attacks on schools in at least 28 countries experiencing armed conflict and insecurity. In more than half of the 28 countries profiled, girls and women were specifically targeted because of their gender. Violence against children by teachers, peers, and other school personnel such as cleaners, guards, and school management. Global studies highlight widespread violence against girls and boys in and around schools. This includes physical and humiliating punishment, or PHP, by teachers and school administrators, sexual and gender-based violence, or SGBV, by both adults and peers, and other forms of physical and emotional peer violence. Even in Canada and globally, 35% of children report direct experiences of bullying in schools. Figures are often underreported. In a recent study, even middle school-aged girls confirmed being victims of sexual harassment, abuse, and violence from their peers, teachers, or other school personnel. Safe Schools program is based on the social ecological framework. This model focuses on the child in the context of their family, community, and society. Interaction between these different levels and the need to work across them all in order to achieve sustainable and scalable change is highlighted throughout the approach. Safe Schools also supports the realization of Save the Children's Quality Learning Framework, or QLF, particularly the physical protection, psychosocial and emotional protection, and school management foundations. It recognizes that violence, conflict, and hazards challenge children's learning, and Safe Schools seeks to ensure that all children can achieve their learning potential regardless of the context in which they live. Safe Schools aims to protect children from violence, attacks, and hazards, and natural and man-made hazards. It includes 6 components. Policy and systems reinforce the protection and safety of children and adults in and around schools. This involves advocating for scaling of proven interventions, generating social norm change, strengthening systems and workforce, and influencing budgetary, policy, and legislative change. Where possible, this includes supporting a national strategic planning process for school safety. School management personnel know and implement measures to protect and keep safe children and adults in and around school. This involves a whole school management process that promotes a culture of safety and inclusion, delivers a risk-informed school improvement plan, implements a protective school code of conduct, and supports the identification and reporting of attacks on schools and cases of violence against children. School facilities meet standards of safety and protection. This involves adhering to processes to ensure school construction, refurbishment, remodeling, and retrofitting is safe and protective for all children. Teachers know and deliver pedagogy and curriculum to protect and keep safe children and adults in and around schools. This involves supporting teachers to utilize positive discipline, support violence prevention and response, promote egalitarian gender norms and challenge harmful gender norms, and identify and respond to natural and man-made hazards. Children demonstrate knowledge and skills that help them to stay safe and protected in and around schools. This involves supporting children to demonstrate social-emotional skills, violence awareness and help-seeking behaviors, promote egalitarian gender norms and challenge harmful gender norms, and identify and respond to natural and man-made hazards. Parents and community reinforce school management measures and student learning. This involves building parents' knowledge of how to reinforce the above with their children at home and support safety in and around schools. All very admirable, right? Well, here's where the needle scratches the record, folks. For some reason, some elementary schools decided, instead of following the recommendations inside the program's directions and taking the older upstanding model students and using them as helpers in the classes, hallways, playground and whatnot. Some decided to corrupt the program. Instead, some of the problem students, also known as the bullies, are taken from the school population, trained, and given care over your children in hopes of rehabilitation and empathy building. Turn those bullies around. Get a 2-for-1, so to speak. That's right. The meanest kid in your child's school can somehow be given one morning of instruction by safeschools trainers, then given authority over your little child in classrooms, in hallways, taking to the bathroom as a helper, or supervising them in the playground. Your child is told by staff they need to listen to and do what the safe kid tells them to do. It's called transferring of authority. To top it off, the staff automatically becomes less observant because they have the helper now. This opens the youngest and usually the most innocent children at elementary school to some serious danger, violence, and even sexual assaults at school during the day. Unbelievable, right? Staff over the past couple of years know this has been the case for many of the elementary schools, but they do and say nothing. Many look the other way even. Why? Because they are freed up by their little helper. They might get every recess off that way. They don't have to interrupt chatting and catching up with other staff at recess because the 12-year-old helper escorts little 5-year-old Sarah or little Billy to the bathroom. Now, if the helper decides to essay your child in there, or take them to an empty classroom with a bunch of older children and beat them up, since they are under the age of 14, under the age of criminality, there's nothing going to happen to the child that hurt your child. Perhaps a couple of days suspension, perhaps some child protective services counseling. That's it. As for the staff, you can't even do anything to them because they weren't there, didn't see it. There's a history of such things happening in Canadian schools. This was the first week of school for most Canadian children. The Safe Schools children are being picked out and are being trained. Ask your child's teacher, are they participating in safe school programs? Do they, or are they going to have a helper child, children looking after your child at any point during the day? You need to know, if your child is hurt by one of these children, or during the time they are in charge of your child, the school staff escapes responsibility, and no one can be legally held accountable for it. When your child is hurt, it is nearly impossible to do anything about it. Currently, the program needs to be changed because in many schools it's not being used or run correctly and is opening the door to more harm. This is a video birthed from the mind of Steffi Gets It and is based on lived experiences and information found on the internet and by algorithms fed to Steffi Gets It on the internet. Please remember to like, share and subscribe. Let's keep in the know and keep our wee ones safe. Please share, especially if you know someone with elementary school children.